Well, thank you, Tom, for inviting me along. Interested to see you all here. I asked Tom what he wanted me to talk about, and the answers he gave me were, it'd be interesting to hear about your time converting power stations to biomass, and then about technology and challenges, opportunities for small-scale heat pumps and biomass, and a bit about current government policy. A lot of what we do at the moment is driven by policy and legislation, and the way they seem to be doing that is by incentive. So I'll cover a bit of that. But first of all, I'll talk a bit about me. Who am I? I graduated in 1989 with a degree in mechanical engineering, which makes me about 27. I entered the industry almost straight away in 1990, right into the depths of a recession, which is pretty much what we've got now. So it is a 20, 30-year cycle. I was lucky to find a job. A lot of my, in fact, on my course, I think there's only 3% of us left in engineering. Others are diversified and gone into other things. I spent 10 years specialising in combustion design, fuel-air ratio control as a principal mechanical engineer, specialising in liquid and gaseous fuels. During that time, I managed to get nominated as the UK technical expert to sit on SEN committees in 1996. With the company I worked with, we won the Queen's Award for Environmental Achievement, Queen's Award for Export. I worked on 9 patents, which was very interesting, being at the leading edge of things. Some of those are world patents, UK and European patents, and then got stuck into various product approvals around the world. After 10 years there, I decided to head south. So bought an old Land Rover and headed into Africa, and ended up in Cape Town. But along the way, discovered things like sustainable living. Now, the pictures of those huts there, all the materials are sourced within 100 metres of those houses, and they're 100% recyclable, which is quite interesting when we look out the window and see what we have here. I found a fantastic picture of zero carbon transport, donkeys with solar panels on the roof, which I thought was quite interesting, based on Priuses and things today, what people are trying to do with technology. And there's a desert highway. No tarmac there, fully sustainable. Moving on from there, I landed in Cape Town and found opportunities down there for heat, or requirements for heat, and for modernising the way they were using their heat and burning their fuels and things like that. Where I lived in Cape Town, you've got Table Mountain. I used to live on the west side, drive over Table Mountain to get to work. And quite often in the mornings, that was the view I saw as I came over Table Mountain. And it's basically an inversion where you've got cold air, a layer of warm air, or sort of an inversion layer, and then warm air on top. And what it did was trap all the smog. So Cape Town is a seaside town, and you would think winds, cold air, everything blows the fumes away. But actually, you've got all the factories, businesses, and then where the locals live, kerosene lamps, little fires and things like that. It was, in some respects, it was a vision of a Holocaust that you sort of see in films. Air goes vertically for about 15 metres and then goes horizontally and just sits there. And you're trying to breathe and live under that smog. And once I saw what industry was polluting the atmosphere with and how that affected us, I started to get involved or look at the environmental side of things. This is, again, another picture of the brown haze over Cape Town. After that, I set up the Clean Air Society in South Africa and sat on the board there to try and see if we could do something about it. They were a nation that is considered first world in a third world country, but industry was moving forward and something needs to be done about it. So I spent 4 years in sub-Saharan Africa, going up to the Sahara, so dealing across Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, a bit of Sudan, which is Sahara and South. And these are some of the companies I worked with in their process plants. Now, they burn a lot of coal down there because they have coal. And under apartheid and sanctions in South Africa, Sasol developed ways of, their only natural resource was coal. They had no gas, they had no oil. So the scientists down there developed ways of making diesel for cars out of coal and making gas out of coal to run their processes. They've since discovered a mains natural gas comes in from Mozambique. But the way they used to start a burner, in this country your central heating switches on, it's all automatic, you forget about it. Over there, they open the door, they throw in an oily rag, they close the door, they light the burner, and they pray it's going to light. They give it 3 goes. If it hasn't gone, 4th time, if they're unlucky, the boiler blows up. If they're lucky, it lights and goes. But that's the technology they had down there. So I took what we were doing in the UK, took it down to sub-Saharan Africa and worked with all these companies. And the sort of fuel savings and emission savings we could achieve by just applying what we consider normal here were to the tune of 58%. Any questions so far? I thought I'd interject if there are questions as we move along, because by the time I get to the end, you've probably forgotten what I was talking about.
What is the main way that you help those companies to save on their fuel? Like, what do you do to the combustion process?
It's purely the way they manage it and they burn it. It's very... Think of old cars that have carburettors and linkages, and actually a burner might be just on-off. It's to use what we consider as fuel injection these days, but to apply it to burner systems, probably 100 kilowatts plus. So used for raising steam in process plants and manufacture. But to put controls on there, to use modern nozzles, modern fuel mixing devices to get much better combustion, and to get your excess air levels down to 10%, which is about as close as you can get before you start producing CO, which is a pollutant. Any other questions? Yes, in front.
What was the main obstacle to them using the new technology then? Was it just knowledge or was it investment?
Yeah, it's what they're used to. South Africa is interesting. We just had, Nelson Mandela's passed away in the various films. We're very aware of apartheid. They had sanctions for years, but they also, if you go to somewhere like Ethiopia, it was never colonised, and they're very proud of that. But it's actually like Middle Ages England. You've got the pictures I showed of reed huts. People are subsistence farmers. In Ethiopia, there's no infrastructure. There are droughts there, but they've got huge mountains and a massive amount of natural resources. They just don't harness it. So it's what they're used to, I suppose, and what we're used to here.